I started playing the piano when I was 12 years old, and even though it's technically been 9 years since I touched my first key on the piano, I've had multiple hiatuses of 1-2 years, and like most people, I started self-taught. Now, if I could go back from scratch, all the way back in 2017, and relearn piano from the beginning, here's what I'd do. First, you have to ask yourself, what is your goal with playing the piano? Do you just want to learn a theme song from a movie? Or do you want to become a professional concert pianist and play in New York, Boston, London, all around the world? When I started, I didn't have clear goals. I didn't really know what I was doing. I just kind of liked playing the keys, and I mean, I was a kid, it's fair, that's normal, but a lot of people start as adults, and most likely if you're an adult and you start learning the piano, it's for a specific reason. Make sure that's clear, that you know the goal, you know why you're doing this, that you're not just doing this to impress somebody or to sound more cool. Also, if all you care about is playing a quote-unquote easy song, then you don't have to practice 8 hours a day. Well, you should never practice 8 hours a day. But you get my point. You don't have to put in as much effort every single day, especially if you have a busy schedule, a 9-to-5 job, to get to the level that you want to get. My second point might kind of annoy you, but it's what you need to hear, and it's to get a teacher. I know you might have clicked on this video and thought, oh, but you know, I want to be self-taught, I don't have the money, I don't have the time or the resources. But the truth is, even if you have a teacher only once a month, that is already great, because the most important thing is learning the right technique and learning all the bases. If you get all the fundamentals down, then the more you practice the piano, the more you can kind of learn yourself. But the problem is, if you get used to playing in the wrong way, it will build bad habits that will cause tension, probably cause you to get injuries like carpal tunnel and be tense all the time, and you'll never be able to progress and play fast pieces or wherever you want to get. Now, if you insist that you really can't have a teacher, then I have a resource for you, and it's called Simply Piano. So you download the app on your phone, right?
And then you burn your phone and throw it in the trash because Simply Piano is the worst thing in the world. Don't try Simply Piano.
Simply Piano is just this app that all pianists collectively hate because of its unrealistic expectations.
Alex, what is this?
Yeah, what is that indeed, Alex? By the way, in this ad, she just started learning the piano, and there is no way in the world that anyone starts playing that song on their first day. The third thing I would do if I could go back was focus more on posture and technique, especially at the start. This kind of ties in with point number 2, where getting a teacher will really help you with this. But here are some quick basics to get you started. Okay, so the first thing you want to do when you get at the piano is you sit down. I like making sure that my butt is not more than halfway so that there's enough room for my legs. I like sitting kind of on the edge, and you should be sitting in the middle of the piano. Then I would take off any jewelry, watches, things that are heavy on your wrists or arms. Make sure your back is straight, upright. Your neck should not be bent down. It should be up, looking down. Once again, shoulders back. When your arms are straight, they should be knocking on this part of the piano. If you have a keyboard, it'd be a little bit above. Then your forearms should be somewhat parallel to the ground. And the way you play a key, you see how the joint is collapsing there? That's not how it should be. It should have a natural curve. And you use the weight of your arm to play. A simple way to get the natural curve is to leave your arms hanging on your side, shaking out your hand, and the way your hand is naturally is the natural curve you're supposed to have when you play. Now this is me playing different types of techniques. Scales here. Then octaves, you see how there's more wrist and forearm involvement there. And then arpeggios a little bit. It's just to show you that different parts in piano uses different parts of your body. So to say that there's one technique for everything isn't realistic. But you learn most of them as you go. The fourth thing I would do is start learning how to read sheet music right away. And let me give you a perfect example for this. When we're in elementary school, we learn how to read at the same time that we learn how to speak. Obviously, you speak better than you can read at the start, but in kindergarten, we're learning how to read, and first grade, and we're still learning how to speak because we learn new vocabulary words every day, grammar, and we all learn everything at the same time. Imagine if we try to learn how to read when you're 10 years old. It wouldn't make sense, right? You just learn everything at the start. It's the same thing with piano. You should just learn every skill at the start. For practice, you can use this website called musictheory.net. And just so you know, the piano has 88 keys, but it's really the same 12 notes on repeat. there's 7 different white notes on the piano and 5 different black notes. We don't have to get into the black notes right now because beginners usually only use white notes anyway, but it's just like the alphabet. It goes A, B, C, D, E, F, G. But if you're just looking at the white notes, then it's 7 notes on repeat and it just repeats. The black notes are what helps you figure out the next set of white notes, right? Because if there was a black note in every middle, then you'd have no way of knowing what key you are in. So that's why they separate with 2 and 3. It's to be able to get around the piano without confusion. On the sheet music, every line and every space corresponds to a note. The first little line under the main staff is what we call it, on the treble clef, because there's 2, oh my gosh, this is so confusing for a beginner. Okay, so there's things called clefs, and it's basically right hand, left hand, and it's just that every line corresponds to a different note depending on the clef. So if you're on the treble clef, which is the top one for the right hand, the first little line under the staff is a C. Then the space right before the staff is a D. Then the first line on the staff is an E, and then it goes up, and then F, and that. And the bass clef is the same, but backwards in reverse. The first line above the staff is a C. Then the next note. The rest you can learn later, but you at least got the basics and you can start practicing that. The 5th point is about consistency. It's better to do literally 10 minutes, which is nothing. 10 minutes is like a shower. 10 minutes every single day of playing the piano, then to play 3 hours one day and then completely stop, and then not stop, play for a week, and then play an hour and then stop, and then... This study showed that spaced practice beats cramming. In the study, participants showed much better retention and playing when they had sessions, say, every other day. In my opinion, if you had to space it, I would say you can leave at most a day or 2 in between each session. Now, if you have a lot of time, say on a Saturday, I would actually say instead of playing 3 hours straight, you can play like 30 minutes in the morning, then take a break. It's better to take breaks even in the same day because your brain, while it's learning, and then you go do something else, and then you come back to it and it forces your brain to adapt again and to remember again, rather than just building that memory for 3 hours straight and then just throwing it out the door for the next time you play. Number 6 is something that I'm not very specific with, but if you're very specific with it, you'll be able to beat anyone in your piano journey. And it's to set goals. Now, the more specific you can make them, even writing them on a sheet of paper, the better. Now, I would have a very long-term goal, which is the same as point number 1. What's your goal with the piano? So is it to become a concert pianist? Is it to be able to improvise in all 12 keys in jazz, right? Or is it to play that one theme song from the movie? Now that's your very long-term goal. Then the long-term goal is 1 year, maybe in one to 2 years, right? I want to learn this piece and this piece, okay? Then you have a medium-term goal, which is like be able to play all the notes. And then the short-term goal in 1 to 2 months, I want to be able to play these scales. It's just examples I'm giving you. I'm just throwing it out there. But the more specific you are and the more goals you set, the better. And those goals will actually help with point number 7, which is progress isn't linear. You might make a lot of gains at the start and then plateau for like 2 or 3 months. That's why writing your goals down will help you with motivation. And not only this, sometimes you think you're not getting better, but you actually are. Or sometimes you think you're getting better, but you're actually still staying the same. Which is why it would also help to record yourself when you practice or when you play and see how you're progressing in the same piece throughout the weeks and the months. Also, make sure you practice really slow, especially at the start. I used to just practice fast all the time because I was so addicted. My brain just likes the song so much that I play it, even if it has mistakes, I play it fast because I just want to hear the sound and feel me playing it fast, even if it's choppy. But realistically, you have to enjoy the slow practice. You have to like playing songs really slowly because that's the fastest way that you're gonna make progress and get to that point. When I started practicing slower more often, that's when I made the most progress. Also, this study showed just how much practicing slower helps you improve. Practicing piano slowly for just 4 days doubled the maximum finger speed of trained movements. So this is songs that they already knew, but then made untrained sequences, so things that they didn't know, 1.5 times faster. So they were still faster in the stuff that they didn't know. And those gains were fully retained 2 months later, even without any practice in between. Isn't that crazy? That shows you just how much slow practice beats everything. The last point I have, which is arguably the most important because this will not only help your piano, but it will literally help your entire life. And it's to be healthy. The two most important things are sleep and exercise. To show you just how important these two are, I have two studies to show you. In this study, it was found that musicians who performed HIIT training, which is high intensity interval training, learned new melodies faster in 1 week than people who didn't do the exercise. This one's more exploratory because there's not a lot of participants and it was just 1 or 2 tests. But this next study is genuinely impressive, and if you had to only take one thing from this video, it's this. Literally this study I'm about to show you. So this is the study I'm talking about. It should be on screen. And just to make sure that I don't butcher it, I'm gonna read exactly the statistics here and just listen to this. Musicians who got an extra 60 to 90 minutes of sleep per night for 7 days improved their rhythmic stability by 4.5%, okay? Sight reading by 7.1%, okay? But listen to this. And musical memory by a striking 38% compared to those who didn't. All statistically significant. 4%, 5%, even 2% is impressive when looking at studies because it shows improvement, especially if it's really consistent. But 38% is insane, and this was just for 7 days, just 60 to 90 minutes. Odds are, if you're watching this, you probably don't sleep that much. A lot of people sleep on average 6 to 7, no pun intended, hours per night. But realistically, especially teens and young adults need at least 8, I would say even 9 hours of sleep. The way I see this study, right, is that most people already aren't sleeping enough. So when you're adding the 60 to 90 minutes, it puts them at like the normal level. And if you're someone who does a lot of exercise and is tired and you need more sleep, I would say even 2-3 hours extra. I know this might be hard with busy schedules, but sleep literally controls your life. If you have poor sleep, you will have a poor life. And I say that without kidding. What was most impressive in that study is that they didn't do anything in between. Like they just slept more and were better at playing the piano. Now, don't get this wrong. You won't just go to bed one night and wake up the next day being a professional pianist, but sleeping better will significantly help you with literally anything else in your life. Now, in conclusion, if I had to boil this down to 3 tips, the first one would be sleep as much as you possibly can. Go to bed earlier. Quality sleep is important. Don't look at your phone before going to bed. Don't exercise or eat too much before going to bed. The second thing, consistency. Practicing 10-15 minutes every single day is better than doing 3 hours once a week. And the third thing I would say is get a teacher. It's better if it's once or twice a week, especially at the start. But getting a teacher will help you get all your bases right, and you won't have to go through the pain of figuring out what you have to learn, where you have to learn it, how you have to learn it. You just have a teacher do all of it for you. And if you have any questions in the comments, literally anything, like why did my girlfriend leave me, or why is my car not starting, just leave them in the comments and I'll try my best to answer you. Have an amazing rest of your day. Peace.